Hey guys, Rich here. Welcome back to the RC Informer YouTube channel. Today's video, I have an unboxing of one of the most highly anticipated airplanes, model airplanes to come around in a long time. Coming from E-flite and Horizon Hobby, this is the 2-meter DRACO. This is the big bad STOL bush plane coming from Mike Patey, and it's been recreated here in meticulous detail by E-flite and Horizon Hobby. This is one seriously detailed model that basically just duplicates or actually emulates Mike Patey's bad to the bone Wilga bush plane that he highly modified, with a turboprop and all kinds of mods to it, big Thunder tires. And as far as STOL planes go, DRACO was the biggest and baddest of them all. And thanks to licensing through Mike Patey and Horizon Hobby, they've given us this just beautiful 2-meter 6-cell powered version of the airplane. Almost totally screwed together. There's a few things to glue together. We're going to get to that in this video. We're going to unbox the plane for you guys. We're going to assemble it, show you all the details of it, and it's just one awesome bird. The box art alone is pretty darn awesome. You can see even on the other side, you got a picture of Mike Patey on there with his wife with DRACO, and a couple shots of the airplane. Just kind of flying around, and it's just one awesome bird. This thing is huge. I had to actually move my camera pack in order to film this thing. Again, guys, 6-cell powered airplane altogether. Of course, it has AS3X and safe, for pitch and roll and yaw stabilization all the way around, so you can fly it in safe mode. And then, of course, lots of specs on this thing. In fact, this box is so big, I'm just going to put it right up here. You can see there your brushless outrunner motor. I'll kind of put that right here for everybody to see. I think it's a 5065. Includes the ESC in there. This is the bind and fly version that I'm going to show y'all. It's a 100 amp Avion Smart 100 amp brushless controller, 6 metal geared servos. You can see there the receiver is a SPEKTRUM 637 and with safe technology. Transmitter required is 6 to 7 channel, batteries of 4 to 6S, 4 to 7,000 LiPo, and of course needs a charger as well. So I'll tell you what, guys, this is so awesome. The detail on it's just incredible. It's a huge box, and it's just one of the most, apparently like one of the most highly detailed models that Horizon has ever put out. So with that, folks, let's get it out of the box. Let's take a look at what it looks like in there. Let's get all the parts out. We'll take a look at everything, and then we'll get it assembled for you guys. As always, stay tuned for the flight demos on this. We'll have this out. It'll be in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. I'll put links to it as soon as we get it out there. Always, guys, for new videos, like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell to alert you when those new videos are coming out. Hit that like button, guys. That sets off the YouTube algorithm to actually send our video to more people, and that really helps us out. If you guys are interested in a DRACO, I will put links in the description below that you guys can click on and purchase one. If you click on our link, go to the website, put one in your cart, purchase it. That supports our channel. We get a little commission at no cost to you guys, and we really do appreciate that support. Anyway, guys, let's get inside the box and take a look at what DRACO is all about. Okay, guys, I went ahead and got it out of the box. It's March, but man, it feels like Christmas time. This is one cool airplane. I did a little bit of cutting here of some of the tape just to kind of speed this up and getting this out, but I thought I'd kind of show it to you guys this way so you can see it kind of in all its glory and how this thing looks. It's pretty sweet, folks. They did a killer job on this thing. Even the packaging on this thing is cool. So we're gonna get this thing out one piece at a time. Just got to cut a little bit of tape and kind of take this thing out. There's a lot of dividers, and there's some wood panels in there too as well, just to kind of make sure that this plane stays safe, kind of in transport, so it doesn't get dinged. This is the first piece I'm gonna kind of pull out, and so I can give everybody just a close-up look at the detail on this thing. Just from the panel lines, the corrugations and everything, the lights on the airplane. You see there's one light kind of right here. There's another one that's like right in here. all the servos, you notice you don't see them. They're all submerged. They're in there. It's really nice. So if I'm not looking directly at the screen, guys, it's because I have my camera and my thing all set up differently, and I need to look at the plane, the parts, to show you guys, you know, sort of the detail of it. So I'll try to look at the camera as much as I can. But check out the camber on that thing. Look at that. Look at the curved surface on the underside of the wing. You got a wingtip light right there, and look at that. Look at that big old light up there, landing light. Just really sweet. Internal. Again, internal servos everywhere all the way around. So let me put the parts aside. We're going to do one piece at a time to get in to show everybody. You can see as we get in here, I'll pull this out. There's another wing panel right here, which I'll take and I'll put that aside as well. I need to use the space behind me here too, because it's this thing is just huge. And as we get down in here, you can see the fuselage down in there. Down in the very bottom, the landing gear is actually connected on there with, and in fact, let me get on over around the corner. I need some flush cutters to kind of get on in there. So we'll get in there and kind of snap those. Oh, actually, that one came undone already. So, and then this one right here, I'll go ahead and I'll snip this one just to kind of get it out of there. And that's how you got to pull the landing gear out of there. Really detailed gear. Check that out. Look how nice that is. We'll get into the full detail of it, you know, as we get kind of all the parts out of the box here. Let's pull this out of here. There's another piece here to get out. So again, even the packaging's really nice. Foam pieces, you know, sort of where it's needed. And they've really done a nice job with all of this. Instruction manual. One thing to note about the instruction manual is real important is that make sure you reference the online manual. Some of the early manuals, I think, they have some mistakes in them. So reference the online manual when you're putting this together. Later manuals will come, you know, without the flaws in them and so forth. So we'll get that down. And let's get the holy grail of this thing out of here. There's little foam pieces everywhere to protect this thing and make sure that it arrives here in one piece. So let's get this fuselage out of here. And again, guys, the packaging on this thing itself is cool. You can see there's little wood bulkheads. They've taken some extreme care, little wood pieces all the way around to make sure that this plane, you know, gets to everybody in really nice shape. In fact, this might be one of the most kind of detailed, I think, boxes that I have seen. They've done a nice job with the box, again, to ensure that you guys get it all in one piece. So let's carefully get this thing out of here. It's coming off the screen. Check this thing out. Look how nice this fuselage is. Just look at that thing. Very simple. As you can see, there's only a few parts to this thing. The rudder does come kind of cocked off to one side like this. That's just how it's shipped in there. And you can see your hatch cover down there below. So anyway, folks, let me get all the parts. Let's lay everything out on the table here, and we'll take a close look at everything in really great detail. But wait, there's more. I forgot to look at the underside of the box, so don't throw your box out too soon. I should have known there was some parts missing, but I'm kind of excited about this one, guys. This one is really cool. So if you flip open the underside of the box, you can see, you know, you've got a lot more parts here. Obviously, right down here, we've got the big old Tundra tires. You can see the size of those things. That's pretty darn impressive. You got your, we got our spinner way down on the bottom, horizontal stabilizer, wing struts, I believe, here. We've got your carbon spar. We've got all the way over right here your tail wheel assembly, a couple other parts, and then way down here, this is the actual tail, or sorry, the back window for the airplane. And then look at this propeller, all painted, just super nice, folks. Just real impressed with that. My camera is probably changing color on everybody just due to the lighting change and so forth, but look how nice that is, all painted, one piece, just super tough prop. So anyway, guys, let's get all these parts, let's lay everything out, we'll take a look at everything in close detail. Now, as we start off looking at the fuselage on this thing, it's clear, folks, I could talk for hours about this. There's so much detail to this. It's going to be hard for me to kind of cover everything, but I'm going to do my best to kind of get into it with everybody. I've got my matching Ernst stand as well that seems to support the airplane real well, and I'm just going to put that down. One thing I just want to cover really fast, there is a hatch on the inside. I think that's sort of the receiver bay area in there, and this is where, you know, your electronic equipment is. So if you're careful and you pull that off, it's got rare earth magnets and a tongue and groove that hold that in place, and I'll probably get to that a little bit later on explaining that, but that's really how that kind of goes in there. I'm going to try and put that back in nicely. Hopefully it's gonna behave and cooperate with me, and there it is. There's it back in place. And then you have a rear hatch cover here that goes on. This is pretty sweet. In fact, I'm going to back up a little bit, show you guys really how nice this thing is. Take a look at this. I'm going to zoom in so y'all can see this. This is pretty impressive. This is the rear glass, or actually it's plastic, but it's the rear window for the airplane, and it's got this nice covering material that you peel off, and it's got the struts in there. Look at the detail. I mean, it's just impressive. It's got 2 rare earth magnets kind of buried in here, and this thing simply just goes on the back side of the airplane. I thought I'd get to this first just so I can show you how that all goes in there. And it's got these 2 nice little grabs here that you can pull this thing off with. So absolutely cool for a foam airplane to see that on there. There's a light back here, I believe, as well. I think that's what that is. I'm pretty sure that lights up. But it's just impressive. I'm going to start off really, folks, with the front of the airplane here, and just look at this thing. The detail of Mike Patey himself in there. We can zoom in. You can see the whites of his eyes in there. It's pretty impressive. You can see clear through to the back window, the strut supports and everything. As we look at the front here, you can see there's a landing light in there, and I'm not sure, but I'm assuming they copied this like the full-scale airplane, where Mike Patey probably has a light in there. I'm not sure. You guys, DRACO fans, may know better than me, but there is a light in there. I mean, there's lights all over this. This is going to be a really great kind of dusk type airplane. So, but check out the exhaust stacks for the PT6 motor. It's a reverse flow free turbine in here that Mike installed in the real full-scale airplane. And he's got his livery all over this. Best Tugs, well, of course, probably one of his sponsors. This really nice oil cooler intake. And then the hatch up front. I'll show you how this works. There's a couple of grabs right here. You grab one here, one on each side, and you lift up on this. You've got rare earth magnets holding this this whole thing in place. And then you can see the detail of the inside. There's our battery floor. And our prop drive here has a real nice, actually a knurled end on here, so that's actually going to grip your prop hub on there really nice when this goes on there. Again, first power this airplane up, folks, with the prop off it, okay, just for safety reasons. And we're going to zoom in on this motor. Let's see what size motor this is. Let me see if I can rotate this around for everybody. Looks like it's a 50, 65, 400 kV, massive motor, massive engine block, or engine mount, aluminum block, I should say. And then as well here, you've got right along here thick carbon spars that run into this plastic mount, it looks like. So there's some serious support up in the nose of this. The nose of DRACO is really thin. It's a skinny nose because it's got a turbine engine in there, or a reverse flow free turbine motor in there, so in the full scale. So it's a thin nose, so they had to back it up with something, so clearly they put lots of support in there, and that's your battery floor and compartment. Check out the struts that go along here inside the full scale airplane. They put lots of scale detail, and then this nose section just kind of tongue and grooves in. Let me get there's our battery connector, of course, that's sticking out and getting in my way. Let's push all that stuff back down in there, and we'll probably get to that later on, or even during the flight demo. And the magnets are grabbing onto my my hatch cover here, so we'll put the hatch cover in place, and you can see how nice that locks in place. And then moving along here, there's lights inside the cockpit as well. I'm pretty sure these displays light up as well. It looks like there's control stick, and looks like a throttle quadrant. Here, let's zoom in there. Looks like there's a throttle quadrant, probably, maybe, I'm not sure, and 2 flight control sticks. And there's, again, Mike in there with all of his seats and his logos. They even got his logos. Look, they got his logos on his shirt, if you could see in there. So, but real impressive. When you get back to the wing area here, you've got everything that plugs in. Your lights, flaps, ailerons, you just plug them right in and go. There's your spar slot for your wing. And then these are like either quarter turn, I'm not sure, quarter turn or half turn kind of wing locks, to kind of lock that lock your wing in place, and it's really kind of that simple of putting your wing on. So there's no screws to get your wing on. There's a half turn or quarter turn bolts or something, you know, to get all those in there. So my light will adjust on my camera because it's set to automatic mode. So if you get a little light, a little color change, guys, that's what it is. It's my camera pretty much in auto mode. And then here's the underside, you know, where your landing gear goes on and mounts on. There's your speed controller, a little bit of cooling there, some exhaust holes for cooling. And just check out the details there. There's Mike Patey's signature, Garmin, you know, some more logos. Racing number 32, Turbulence, Draco. There's external power plug-in, Covington Aircraft, all of his logos and everything on there. Flying Cowboys, ecovap.com, not sure what that is, some kind of vapor, who knows. I guess that's the horsepower, 680 on the full scale. And best tugs on the ventral fin, grip lock ties, and look at the detail. Look at the corrugations on that tail, and look at the light. There's a look at the rudder light right. Let's see if I can get the focus right on that tail. Check that out. Very, very cool. There's one on the top as well. Check that out. And there's a Pratt & Whitney. I'm going to take my best guess. I'm pretty sure, guys, that this is a Pratt & Whitney PT6 that powers the full scale airplane. So, but there's your Pratt & Whitney. Let me see if I can get that closer in there. Pay him a little homage. Used to fly Beechcraft 1900, had PT6s on it as well. So if I got that wrong, sorry about that, but I think that's what that is. Your detail on your tail wheel is pretty awesome. Your tail section, you can see how that whole tail piece. Look at that thing, the detail back there. That's where your horizontal will slide into the back. You got your rudder, servo, and look at that. It's bolted in with like 3 screws. And you don't have to, you know, don't have to take it out, and it's kind of internal. It's really well hidden in there, and your tail wheel plugs into sort of this back section. So our elevator is going to go into here. It's going to snap in place, no screws, and again the tail wheel assembly is going to go on back here. Here's a very, very, very cool feature that I got to get in on and show everybody how nice this actually is. This is the tail hatch for the tail servo, and it's magnetic. Check that out. It's got a rare earth magnet on there. There's our horn for our elevator, and that just goes back in place. Let me see if I can snap that back in, tongue and groove it, and it snaps into place. So no screws to get that off of there. Rare earth magnet, and that runs back to you know, your elevator linkage. Which is you know, just right here. So there's your elevator linkage. They even made it red to kind of make it, give it a little more, maybe a little more scale appeal, so it doesn't look like a ball link so much. But let's take a look at the detail on this thing. Look at the riveting detail, and really, guys, it is riveting. We'll take a look. Let this zoom in. Check out all the rivets, all of the panel lines, the corrugations. The Wilga has a lot of corrugations in it, and that's what these are. Corrugations are just bends, okay, in the metal, in the aluminum on the full-scale airplane. That just makes it stronger. It keeps it from flexing so much when you bend it and corrugate it. It makes it a lot tougher. So those are just indigenous to the Wilga to make you know, flat metal parts tougher. They make it more rigid so they don't flex so much. But very, very cool. Again, look at some of the details on this. I'm going to zoom in so y'all can see that grab here logo, but look at the rivets on there. Look at the details on there. I mean, it's really pretty impressive. Mike Patey's signature once again, and there's your landing gear mounts and so forth. So anyway, folks, this is impressive. I'm pretty much floored by this. It's a very, very neat, very detailed model all the way around, and just super, super impressive. Now the next part we're going to show you is one of the main wing panels. We'll go over one of them because they're pretty much the same. This thing is a massive wing, about 1 meter long. First thing I want to talk about really is just where it connects, you know, to the fuselage. This is a little transport piece of wood here. I'll back off here a little bit. And then these are quarter turn kind of locking nuts here. You can see they just kind of quarter turn out, and then this transport piece of wood just kind of comes out. That's the kind of thing I'll usually save as a scrap for you know, some other project I might have, and this just fits in place and locks in, and that's how this thing just attaches to the wing. You just kind of lock those in place. But check out the detail on this wing. I'll give you all the close-up here as best I can. You can see the Covington Aircraft logo, best tugs and so forth, and then just all of the details. There's almost too much. There's almost just too darn much to cover with this thing. Look at the rivet detail and the panel line detail on this thing, and look at all the fairings there. With the rivets, I don't know if those are actuators or stall fences, or these are just access covers or covers for different things. And then let's take a look at the wing tip itself. As I zoom in on this thing, you can see the winglet, and with that really nice wing light on the edge, and then your forward facing light right here, and then you've got sort of a stall fence area right here, but just simply awesome. These are your connection, your mounting points for your slats, which I'll show you here in a second. There's 5 of them this is one of the areas that you do have to glue. And then you get into the root of the wing where we kind of started off with, and you can see there's all your connections. You got your again your two wing bolts and your 4 connections that all you do is assemble this thing. Now the flaps are pretty sweet. These are a sort of a Fowler type, I think a split flap, or not a split, but a Fowler type slotted flap. So very, very neat on that track. Same thing with your ailerons. Your ailerons, I believe, actually are a sort of what you call if I'm not mistaken, a freeze type, where it actually dips down into the free stream of air. So I'll try to get a better picture of that. You can see how it sticks down below. So what happens is as that comes down, you see where it's hinged, and it sticks up just a little bit there. Let's see if I can get that steady. What that does is it adds a little drag there and helps counteract adverse yaw, which is when you roll the airplane, it causes the plane to yaw in the opposite direction. So that kind of assists with that. And then of course you have a very, very, very high lift aileron right there as well, combined with that. A few other details on this thing, and I'll try and get this to kind of go back straight down there. A couple other details that are really nice that they did to this is to the winglet, to the trailing edge. You can see they made this plastic, and I'll zoom in on that so y'all can see how nice that is. That's a detail that kind of gets overlooked a little bit, but it keeps you from dinging the corner and having foam that's too thin. And if you see it from the inside as well, you can see it's all plastic pretty much, and it's very nice. You can see your corrugation in your ailerons, your internal servo for your aileron. You can see the tape on the trailing edge for the trim, for the color, and again corrugations on the flap, internal servo, and just really, really impressive. There's a couple of slots along here. This is for an antenna. One of the antennas we're just going to kind of glue in place. And as we get to the underside, a couple of details on the wing here that I want to show everybody. Again, you've got your wing light right here. Really cool. I believe this is a flasher, and I'm not 100% sure, but I believe these are landing lights. These look like these forward face. There's 2 of them. They angle downward a little bit. Here's your servo hatch cover for your internal hinge, or internal servo, I should say. So everything's hidden in this thing. It's pretty impressive. And then here's another wing light. I'm not sure. This one looks like it angles down just a little bit, but it also points straight down. And then here's another hatch cover for your flap servo. Again, that's all hidden in there, and you can adjust it. You can see it's got a sort of an opening or a window there, an adjustment port, I guess you could say, that you could stick a screwdriver in there and adjust that. That looks like an easy connector in there if you have to. Same with the aileron. Again, that's all very, very nice how that's set up. So you can unscrew the hatch, get to your servo, but also with that screw right there, as you can see at the top of the screen, you can make an adjustment there. So super impressive, folks. I'm just blown away by the quality of this. And then to glue on, and again, just like we talked about earlier on in this video, is taking care of your slat. Be careful pulling this out of the package. But what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue here. I'm either going to use my Zappo foam safe, or maybe even I'll probably use my foam tack on there. But really 5 points of glue here, 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 and here. And then we will go ahead and we'll put the slat on. And in fact, I can actually dry fit that because it's such a nice fit. I'll show you how nice that really is. Let me zoom in. You can see your slat right there. I'll zoom in a little bit so y'all can see how that works. That's a high lift device okay? Leading edge slat for your wing. Let me get that more in the center there. And you can see that those 5 points connect. And how nice of a fit the overall that it is. And you can see it's essentially a slotted slat that's permanent, it's fixed, and I don't know if that's indigenous to the Wilga or if that's something that, that Mike Patey did. That might be a Mike Patey mod probably, but that gives the wing super, super high lift, and that's one of the pieces that you're going to glue on, and you do that for both wings, and that's really it for really getting the most of the assembly. There's a couple antennas and these leading edge slats that you glue in place, and I'm probably not going to glue them for this video. I'll get them on here before I go fly it, but for the purposes of just sort of assembling the airplane, for this video, you can see it's such a nice fit that you can just sort of pop it in place, and it fits on there real nice. You could see by looking at it through here. I'll try to get this in such a way that you can see the slot through there. If you look through, you can see right through it. It just makes it basically adds another little miniature wing to the front of the airplane and gives it high lift. And then here you can see, of course, just zooming in, that this is a very high lift wing. It has a curve to it. It has a camber to it. It's a curved surface underneath as well as on top. And that makes it just super, super high lift. So, but very impressive overall, folks. Very, very neat. Very, very nice design, and excellent, just top-notch construction on this wing panel. Next up, folks, is the horizontal stabilizer. This thing is simply awesome. You can see right underneath here. I'll zoom in for everybody to check out. Again, lots of detail here, lots of corrugations on it. Also, 2 spars running across here, one here and one here. There's also one on the elevator, and then here's your lower struts that support this and give it a little more support, and these pop on with ball links. And then this center section here is your snap-in. It just, you don't have to screw this elevator in place. You literally slide it onto the tail and snap it in position. You can see here, super, super nice ball link, folks. It's very tough. It looks like it's a little bit loose here, so I'll probably tighten that a little bit. It looks like a 2mm screw with a 2mm lock nut. But really nice hinges all the way around. You can tell here, as you look in here, that there are proper type hinges right in here. They are like fabric or CA type hinges that are in there, so it's not just a foam hinge. And you can see this is pretty almost reminiscent of a 3D style, flight control. So lots of elevator, to get this into a high angle of attack, and at slow air speeds, that really lets you kind of control the airplane a whole lot better. So lots of again, stickers on here. Do not raise by stabilizer, it says, so you don't want to pick up the airplane there. And then here's another detail that's pretty neat. It looks like the tips, and I'm not sure exactly how this works. It's almost like these are an inverted slat, almost, like you can see right here. It's like an inverted slat on the elevator. So elevators and horizontal tails create negative lift, tail down force. So the way this is designed is that it's set up so as the airplane is flying along here, it creates a tail down force. So it actually pushes downward. So this is like almost like a little inverted slat designed into there. That might be a Wilga thing, but it might be a Mike Patey thing to just generate a little extra lift on this counterbalanced part of the flight control surface. But overall, folks, really, really, really nice elevator. The next part up to show you guys is the main landing gear, and man, this is impressive, folks. They did a nice job on this. This thing is this is solid, this is carbon fiber, folks. It's pretty neat. If you look down in here, you can see it goes all the way down, kind of back into there, and then it's all backed up in here with some really, really nice kind of metal supports. You can see down here, I'll zoom in on this thing, and you can see the detail on these the shocks. Let me zoom in there so you guys can get a real good close-up. Even has all of the appropriate labels on placards. It shows what is that, King Off-Road Racing shocks. So I don't know, these may actually be car shocks on the full-scale airplane. I have no idea, but you can see that it's got metal all the way along here. All these really nice ball joints. You can see that this is it looks like this is, I think this is all aluminum or metal here, if I'm not mistaken. And they're functional, folks. Look at the compression on the two of these. Look how nice those are, and that helps you absorb the shock of, you know, kind of hard landings and so forth. And I went ahead and I assembled one wheel. I just put one wheel on it already. And really, the nice thing is this is all kind of pre-set up and kind of ready to put together. And actually, I'm going to take one of these, a wrench here real quick, and I'm going to put one on for you. And in fact, this is really all you need to do to it. I'll zoom in so you guys can see how nicely this is actually really already set up from the factory to sort of go on there. Yep, it's trying to focus on the background again, but let's get this off. There's two washers on the inside right here, and there's one here on the outside. Let me get in on that, and then you basically just take that thing off, one bolt or one nut on, and you just kind of throw your wheel in place. And then you put your washer back on. Let's get that in place here. And you put your nut back on. This is a nylon lock nut that goes on there. I think these are 3mm, you know, metrics on here, but we'll tighten that up and get it on there. And that should be it. When you get it tight, it still spins nicely. You can see there. And this thing's ready to, you know, really just ready to bolt to the airplane and take off and land with. So you can see it's got great compression all the way around, and it's really, really cool. It's got great detail for the steps. You can see it's got the step-ons, the Best Tug logos and everything. These are your steps right here that you would board the airplane, that Mike would board his airplane with, and it's pretty neat. So, but that is it, folks. Really stout landing gear. It bolts on, it looks like with 4 screws, and then there's like a cover plate. We'll get that on here next shortly after we look at all the parts and everything. And that just goes right on, and it's just that simple and just super, super awesome. I mean, it's just impressive, the massiveness of this and the level of detail that they put into this. So just simply awesome landing gear, guys. Now, aside from the main pieces, we have the prop and the spinner, and you can see how nice of a sort of a fit and a finish they are. The prop is glassy smooth. Just check that out. I'll get close on it for everybody. You can see it's very nicely painted, has really nice stickers on there, and you can see it has all the you know, little triangular logos on it. And it's just simply awesome. It's red and black, so it really matches the airplane really well and is super, super scale. Next up, we've got the tail wheel piece, which I'll show you here. Nice detail. You can see how nice that is. Again, a king shock. It absorbs the strut. This just bolts onto the tail of the airplane. Everything is supported with you know, some nice metal pieces, and you've also got your sort of your crank here, where this whole thing you know, connects up you know, to your rudder via springs for steering. So all the screws are already on here, and here, so you can make those attachment points, you know, to the fuselage. So very slick. And then we've got a tail cone part here. I'll zoom in on that. This is going to go on the tail section to kind of, I think, just to sort of clean it up after we get the tail wheel in place. And then we've got a parts bag with all of these cool details. This is one of the nicest things I think I've seen, or nicest kind of parts detail packages that I've seen. Right here, these are some steps. These just bolt to the side of the fuselage. They're going to go on pretty much, I think, right kind of back here in some area. And these are how you pretty much step up onto the into the cockpit of the airplane. And then also we've got these wing skids right here that, you know, Mike Patey designed into the airplane. These just pop into the wing. These are wing skids to prevent the, in the event that you have an accident with the plane, the wing tips don't dig in. And actually Mike Patey said that this kind of saved his butt, you know, when he had the accident with his airplane. So these kind of skipped along the ground and did what they were supposed to do. So real neat feature. And then there's a bunch of antennas. There's like 2 on the top. There's 1 on the bottom, and these are slick. I mean, check out the detail on these things. These just plug in, use a little foam tack or a little bit of CA to put these in place, but they are metal and they're painted white, just like the you know, like the full-scale airplane is. So pretty neat details there all the way around. And then the rest of this parts bag is pretty impressive. You can see these are your tail springs that go on, and you've got actual counterweighted flight control counterweights. Okay, these are actually weighted. You could feel the metal in them, and they probably actually do work. And they looks like they, I believe they just screw in place. So that's pretty neat. You've got a bind plug you've got these little plastic kind of wing connectors. These glue onto the wings. We'll talk about that when we put the thing together here. And then we've got like just a bag of screws and so forth. So I got a bind plug as well, even though we have a bind button in this thing. So really awesome overall, folks. Just really comprehensive. The stuff that comes with this airplane, just the level of detail, fit and finish is just outstanding. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and let's get the big pieces together, and we'll get DRACO ready to get out to the flying field. Now the first part to assemble DRACO is just to put the landing gear on, and it's really pretty simple. There's 4 little slots here for 4 screws that go on, and it has these really kind of mammoth 4mm by 20 in length screws. And all we're going to do really is they mount on with 4 screws right here, so we just put their landing gear in place. This is to show you how simple this is to get in position. Once you've positioned it, you do want to make sure, as you all can see right here, that you line up your fairing right here. Make sure that this lines up on both sides, and then once you do that, all of your holes should line up perfectly. And you just kind of hold this in position, you know, as best as you can, and then just insert your 4 screws in here. I'll put the 4 of them in place. We'll carefully just kind of line those up. They should fit in. It's a little bit of a kind of a tight fit once you get those 4 screws lined up. Let's see, you got to put them in one at a time so whichever one happens to fit in its position the best. That's kind of how and you got to wiggle them. The carbon fiber kind of bites into the threads a little bit, so you want to make sure those all go in there. And then taking your screwdriver, and again, feeling along the sides here and making sure and visually just kind of verifying that, you know, your fairing's lined up. Because if your fairing's not lined up, none of this is going to kind of fit right. So, and then holding it down with one hand and screwing the 4 of these in. They go into metal, you know, 4mm threads, and that'll get them all on there. So it's just really that simple, getting those in place. And voila, that should be it. And they get really, really tight because, again, they are metal threads on metal threads overall. So once those are in place, you can see, double check, you know, make sure your fairing here, everything lines up, the seam lines up nice and smooth, and that is it for DRACO's main gear. To really clean up the underside of DRACO, they gave us this really nice cosmetic panel that just fits on here. Still allows you to get your screws and remove your landing gear off, but I think they did this just simply for the purposes of making sure that everything lines up properly, and to make sure that that this hatch cover, you know, goes in place properly and everything will line up. So once you get this on, you can still remove the landing gear. So once you peel away those 2 little pieces off the adhesive strip, you can put this right down in place, push it in position, and what that'll do is it'll adhere to the carbon fiber main landing gear, and it'll clean up the underside of DRACO. It looks really nice, and it allows for you to have a nice cooling hole, and you can still, it cleans up the bottom, and you still have access to those 4 screws if you need to remove the gear. Now the next part to assembling DRACO is just to get the tail wheel shock, and then these kind of spring dampers in place. And that's simply done by, it's really easy to do. I haven't actually put it together yet. Here's my kind of first shot. I'm going to take these 2 springs and I'm going to stick them into the tail crank, and then what we have to do is remove these screws here real quick, and that's simply done by just lining this up with a screwdriver. As you can see here, I'm just gonna unscrew what's already in there, and just sort of, as you can see here, just take this thing out, just remove it for a second, and we're gonna just sort of put these screws aside. There's the one for the shock. You can see I'm just pulling that out right there. And then same thing with the underside one, the main one really. We're going to remove this really the same way, using my old Tamiya wrench here. This thing's old. It's probably at least 40 some odd years old, this thing, so I've had it a long time. But we'll go ahead and we'll remove this. And it's nice that they actually put the screws on the tail wheel assembly already, so you know we don't end up you know, just sort of losing them. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and put the dampers, the little springs here, already in here. So I'm going to line this up as best I can. I think this might be sort of the easiest way to do this, I hope. The instructions, I don't know if they actually tell you to do this, but this might make the whole thing just a little easier. And then we'll just kind of line these things up. So now your springs are really already in place. You don't have to do too much with it. And then I'll just, you know, kind of trying not to block y'all's view of this thing. In fact, let me just go in from this side just to make it sort of easier. You just sort of line those up, and then you can put your nut back in place. And of course, we're going to tighten all of this. So let me grab my screwdriver here. Takes a couple seconds to do this. So we'll get this threaded in there, and we'll tighten it all up in a second. I just want to get that in place. But you see, that's a kind of a real easy way to just sort of get this thing in place. And then we'll line up our top one, and we'll get that kind of lined up in place so it just fits in. You can see how nice that goes in there. Same thing, you know, just put the nut on the other side, trying your best not to drop it for the camera here. So it's a little challenging sometimes doing this online here, doing this while we're filming it. And that's it. We're going to tighten those up so they stay in place. But that's really it for getting your tail wheel in place. Now that the tail wheel is in place, we're going to just tighten everything up. So let's get the right side on here. We're going to go ahead, actually that's the wrong side. We're going to go ahead and tighten these up, make sure they're in place. We don't want to go too tight with them because we want this thing to move. So plus that one on top there with the shock goes into plastic, so you know you can kind of damage that real easy. So once you get it on there, back it up, let the lock nut kind of do its job. The lock nut will hold it in place. As long as it's sticking out of there a little bit, you should be good to go. You want to make sure that this has, of course, plenty of spring action, and this is where your kind of damper of the rudder comes into, or tail wheel comes into place, because you know when you hit rough terrain, it turns this around, doesn't strip your servo or anything, and make sure your shock is working well again by not over tightening. Then you have some fairing covers. So one's going to go over here. This is the little cover, and there's a little kind of screw in self-tapping screw that I'm going to put into place here, and you can see just line that up, put it through the hole, and we'll tighten that up. And don't over tighten it because it is going into plastic. You can feel it get tight when it gets in there. And then on this side, you can see right here where it lines up. It lines up with, well, it's kind of hard to do because I can't really see it. It lines up with this hole right here. So I'll put that tail cover on here so everybody can really see how that fits in. I'm doing this from the blind side where I really can't see it, but let's get that in place. You can see that cover, you know, just fits on there really, really nice. Again, taking the self-tapping screw, you know, going in from this side, getting that thing to line up nice, and there we go. So we'll just tighten that up. Again, I'm doing this from the other side, so I can't even see what I'm doing. I'm just kind of eyeballing this. And then once that's in place, you tighten it. You'll feel it tighten down. It is tapping into plastic, but it's still, you'll feel it get tightened. Again, don't over tighten it because you'll strip it. And that's it. That's your final assembly of your tail wheel. Very clean, very scale, super nice design. The next step up, guys, is installing your horizontal stabilizer and elevator. Essentially, really all there is to installing this is, if you look right here, I'm going to zoom in. This is essentially a kind of a locking slider, and then you have these two ball links that'll snap into position once you get this this thing in. Now, it seems a bit rickety when you first do this, but you know they've obviously tested this. Here's the little tab, the locking tab that it locks into place with, and this is what you push down on to actually release it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this, and I'll show you guys this as best as I can up close, and I'll try to hold the elevator up so y'all can see this, but it gets onto this little sliding track right here, and then the whole thing just kind of slides into position. And you can see this locking tab kind of right here in the middle, how when I pull it down, it actually unlocks it. So I'll slide it in there again so you all can see how it snaps up. You want to make sure that tab snaps up like that so your elevator is locked into place. If it's not, you could lose your elevator on the plane. So let me zoom in even closer so you guys can see how that locking tab kind of goes into place. Let me back up so my zoom is working here. It's real important that when I push back, that locking tab goes down and then snaps back up. If it doesn't snap back up, it's not locked into place, so be very cautious. You just make sure that thing's popped up, because that's really the only thing that's kind of holding this elevator on. So a little surprising to me that that's how it is, but you know, obviously they've been flying it and they've tested it out, and it seems to work real well. And then the next part here is just to snap these two ball links into place. Let me see if I can push these in without breaking the plastic piece. So those ball links actually are some serious support for holding this in. Let me zoom back out a little bit. Same thing with this one. I'm going to move this one down into position, and with holding this up, I'm going to try and snap this in so y'all can see this. Let's try that, get that thing in place. It does have a tough kind of snap, and that's gonna really keep it on there. So in fact, it's so tough it doesn't really even want to go on there. Let's get that. There we go. It snapped in place. So those two struts on the underside are going to be probably pretty integral to getting this thing in place. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to snap our ball link into place right here. So as you can see down here, mine is a little bit loose, so we're going to want to tighten that. We probably don't want that to be too loose, but don't over tighten it because you could split the plastic. So with a turn of the screwdriver, just get it so it's snug and it's not loose there, and you can see it looks like it's pretty good on there. So we'll get our elevator in place, and I'll lift that up a little bit hopefully so you guys can see the snap on there, and we'll get that in position. And that is it for getting our tail in position. Now I decided to flip the airplane upside down so you guys could see this whole mechanism again. And again, right down here, that's your locking tab. Make sure that thing's locked in. Again, if I lift that up and push my elevator forward, that thing comes up and it unlocks. So make sure it's forward and make sure this thing is all the way down. In fact, I might even stick a wedge or something in there just to kind of keep that locked in place. But additionally, these two ball links really help keep the thing in place. So to give you guys a little bit of a sort of a close-up of that, I'll show you how that looks like on both sides. You can see ball link on one side, the center tab is locked, ball link on the other side, and that's really it, folks. That's getting your entire tail on the airplane. It is just that simple. Okay guys, the next step is to prep the wings of DRACO to go onto the airplane, and it's really pretty simple. There's 4 parts we're going to put on. One is the little skid strip, which I'll show you kind of right here. This is just the little metal skid, and it's actually on the real airplane, it's carbon fiber. This is the thing that Mike designed into the wingtip of the airplane in case you're about to drag a wing. You don't grab a wingtip, the wing kind of slides along the edge, and he said this really kind of saved his butt and worked really well. The next part really is the counterweight that's going to go under the aileron. This is a real weight, folks. This is pretty darn cool. It has I guess a brass weight up there, and it probably really actually works or acts as a counterweight. And that goes on with a screw. And then there's this little tiny scale detail here, folks, and this is essentially, I think, just a grab rail for the inside of the wing. So actually when you're getting onto the airplane, I'm guessing, I think you grab it and it kind of helps you get in the airplane. And then the next one is getting the leading edge device on, or the sort of the fixed slat in position, and that gets glued. These are the only 2 pieces that get glued. The other ones we screw in place. And what we'll do is we'll start off with kind of the easiest part here, and I'll show you this. We'll zoom in here, and I'll get you down here onto the wing tip. And you can see right here, all you have to do is take your skid, and you're going to push it down in there. Now, if it goes in very loose, which it actually seems like this is kind of loose, like I might actually lose it in flight or something, so it really probably ought to be a little tighter than that. So here's what I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with mine. I'm going to take mine. If you run into this issue with yours, just take a pair of pliers, okay? Grab one end of this thing and then just sort of spread this open just a little bit. That'll give you a little more tension and a little more bite when you push this thing into position, so you don't lose it when you're flying. This little edge should bite on there when we stick this thing in there. So make sure you put it in the right way, okay? Make sure you leave, the front of the wing is this way, so it acts as basically the skid strip that it's supposed to act as. So I'm going to push this down into place, and I can feel that it's a lot tighter in there, and I'm probably less likely to lose this thing. The next part is really just getting the counterweight in place. And all I'm going to do is just take that counterweight, and let me see if I can angle the wing so we all can see this, you know, just a little bit better. So here it is right here. I'm going to go ahead and put this counterweight. I'm going to line it up, and let me see if I can get the airplane out of the way so I can show you all this a little bit better. There we go. That's a little bit nicer the way that that's actually positioned. So we're just going to line up these two screw holes right here. You can see how that just fits into place. Actually, I take that back. It's going to go in like this. So we line that up, get those holes to line up, which it looks like it's in there pretty nice now. And then we're just going to take our screw, and they provide the self-tapping screw for you. We're going to put that in position, and using a thin screwdriver, as you tighten this, be careful not to let it slip and punch a hole through your aileron. I kind of did that on the other wing, so I'm using this wing to kind of show you guys, and you just tighten it this way. So you don't want to over tighten it because it is just plastic, but once you get it secured, okay, there we go. Let me tighten it. All right, there we go. We get it in position, and there you go. You have your counterweight, you know, completely installed and, you know, really ready to do its job, you know, as a counterbalance weight. So pretty neat there. And then the last, again, this is, I believe, a scale detail here. I don't think this is anything structural. It's just a little kind of grab handle. You take a little bit of CA here, and you put that in position, and you glue it in, and then that's really all it looks like right there. I'll zoom in so y'all can see how that goes in. Again, it's just a little scale handle, scale detail. I think it's just a hand grab rail, so when you're getting on the plane, I think you can get either onto the cowl or into the airplane and so forth. So, and then the last part we're going to put on, and again, you just put this on with some CA. That's really all it is. And then, in fact, I'll either use foam tack, or I'll probably just stick a drop of Zappo foam safe CA, or any CA really, because it's plastic to plastic, so you don't have to worry. That's just going to go right in there. And then the last big part is just getting your fixed slat, like we kind of talked about earlier, and that really just fits in place here. I'm going to glue it on later just so I don't spend the time on camera and everything, but you can see again that acts as a really nice slat. I'll show you the detail of that. It's really cool how that just acts as sort of a separate wing. It actually is, and I'll show you here. It is a slat, you know, it's slotted. You can see right through it. It provides a bunch of extra lift. And really, again, to get that on, all you do is use either foam tack. Okay, guys, I use foam tack for almost everything. Put some on each 5 of those spots, or preferably some foam safe CA, either one. And then we're going to glue those on positions. And once that's in place, folks, that's it for the DRACO wing. It's ready to go on. You can see what a nice fit that is. Even without glue, the slat does stay in place real nice. So we've got our counterweight. Okay, we've got our wing skid. We've got our wing handle glued on, and we've got our slat on. And we just duplicate this for the other wing, and both wings are ready to go on. Now, before we get the wings on DRACO, there are a few more scale details to put on the airplane, and you can put these on really at any time. If you don't want to tear them off the airplane while you're transporting it, you may want to kind of keep them off while you're transporting them. But for the most part, one of the details right here is this little kind of stepping strip. This is so when you're stepping on the airplane, you step on this. It's a step to get onto the airplane. So, and there's one that goes on each side, and what I'll do is I'll zoom in here so you guys can get a little better idea of how that is going to go on. All you're going to do really is just take that, sort of insert it in there. There'll be some holes in there that are going to kind of line up, and we're going to take the screw, get it in place. Let me go with the screwdriver method here. Usually I'll just mount it to the screw right there, and then start turning that in. So these can be removed for transport if you want to. Again, it's kind of a little bit of, it is a scale detail, but it also actually helps hold the back end of the sort of the pant or the fuel tank down a little bit. So and it adds quite a bit of kind of detail to the airplane. So I'm going to rotate this just a little bit. There's one more detail here that goes on the underside, and that's one of this scale antenna. This, with a little bit of foam tack or CA, we're just going to glue that in place, and it really gives the model like quite a bit of realism. And then when we flip this around, and you'll see what I'm talking about, there's two kinds of antennas and pitot tubes on airplanes. Remember, those that have broken off and those that will. So here's where you have to be careful. Once you get all these little tiny details on the airplane, you kind of risk breaking some of them off. So if you put it down on your stand here, you can break it off, that kind of thing. So just be real careful, you know, handling this thing. And in fact, I'm going to turn it around the other way because there's another antenna on top that I'm going to kind of show everybody where that goes. Let me lift this up and move it a little bit in this direction, and you can see right here, I'll see if I can zoom on that a little bit. Let me move it into a better position there, and let's zoom in. And there's another antenna that's going to go right in here. Again, that's glued in place as well. You know, again, use some foam tack if you got it. That's probably the best thing to use. Or, you know, use your Zappo Foam Safe CA that I dropped on the ground. And either one of these will work fine, or really whatever CA you want. But once again, folks, as you start putting these scale details on the airplane, you do have to be careful because you could start tearing them off as well. So this thing is really coming together nicely, and you can see it starts really growing up, and you really start seeing all the little details on it, and how nice so far fit and finish on this thing, folks, is spectacular. Okay guys, we're bringing DRACO up on the lift. We're going to put the propeller on. I don't recommend having the propeller on when you first power up the airplane, but once I put the wings on this thing is going to be completely mammoth. So I want to get kind of all the details on it, and I will remove the prop you know, before powering this thing up. So I'll start off here by just removing all of that. And again, folks, there's a nice knurled end. Let me zoom in on this. There's a really nice knurled end, okay, on the prop drive here. Normally we're used to having hex drives and things, but this, they did a good job. As long as it's got a knurled end like that, it should lock into place pretty darn good. So this is really kind of the procedure for putting this on. You just sort of spin this into place. You want to get a nice, you know, kind of open-end wrench or a socket or something and tighten that on pretty tight. I'm just putting it on right now, just initially, you know, just for looks. Also, you can see that this plug-in, this spinner shouldn't wobble at all because this form-fitted aluminum piece fits inside of that form-fitted, you know, plastic plug-in. So this thing only goes on one way, and you can feel it when it, and in fact I'm sighting it from the back, it locks in there, you know, pretty darn nice. And then there's a single screw here, folks, in a bag to put this on. I believe it's a 4mm metric, okay, to get this thing in place. And what I'm going to do is just put that on my screwdriver, throw it in place and screw it in, and really that should lock that baby down. So it's on there nice and tight. Again, make sure you secure everything. This is just a rough fit, folks, so y'all can see what this looks like. It is just a mammoth propeller. And next up, guys, is really the final step assembly, and that's really just putting the wings on. Okay guys, I got DRACO on her side because I want to show you how the wings bolt on, and it's better viewed from the side because you can actually see the quarter-turn cam bolts that put this thing in place. So we'll get one on, then we'll flip it around, and I'll show you the whole thing going together. And it's really just this simple, folks. You install your spar, okay, and then you take your wing and you push this thing all the way down and lock it into place. Now, for those of you who may assemble your airplane, okay, and you maybe have an intermittent control, maybe an aileron or a flap or something that's maybe the contact is not that good. There's also one underneath here as well. So when you got 3 contacts per servo connector. So if you have a problem with an intermittent aileron or flap or something, it's probably just a bad contact. So in the upper right hand corner of the screen here, folks, I will put a link to a video that I made on my channel called Save Your Plane, and it shows you how to tighten these connectors. So if you have a loose contact, It's easy to fix. Check it out on my channel. If you have to, just type in how to save your plane, RCINFORMER, and the electrical contact video is right there for you guys to see, and that should resolve any connection issue, because these kind of connections are, you know, they are sometimes, you know, prone to having kind of bad contacts, or maybe not being as tight as you'd like them to be. So just check that video if you guys have any problems. But essentially, this is all you have to do. You slide this on, and you make sure your pins here line up, and I'm gonna zoom in so everybody can really see that. I'll get as best as I can. It's towards the top of the screen, but just sight in here, make sure all your contacts, everything goes into place nicely. It should line up, and then once it's all lined up, just kind of push it all in position, and then that's really it. You take your quarter turn cam bolts, okay, and you put those in position, get them to line up and lock in, and then you turn them so they're front to back. And that's really it. I'll take the other one, I'll get it in there, and we'll turn it front to back again, and that's it. That's how you assemble your wing. It's really pretty slick, because all of the contacts are made when you do this, and there's just 2 bolts, so it's this easy to assemble it and disassemble it when you're taking it in and out of your car. So again, folks, if you have electrical contact issues, or if you're picking up your airplane prior to flying it, you're moving the wings, and you notice the ailerons twitching or flaps twitching or just any issue at all, it's probably just one of those contacts. So check out my video. Again, I'll put it in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and it'll show you how to tighten those contacts. It's real simple. So let's get this thing upright. Let's get both wings on, and we'll take a look at this thing in all of its glory. Okay guys, you can see DRACO upright on its landing gear. Even with one wing attached with all that weight on one side, it still stays pretty steady on its main gear, so it's real easy to assemble without it flipping over. You still don't even need a stand or anything. So all we're going to do is just insert the second wing. It's just so easy, guys, to plug this thing in. It's really, they did a really great job on getting this thing together. And then I'll take the quarter turn bolts right here, and I'll get those in place. Just reaching underneath here, getting them lined up, turning them front to back. You can feel it click when you lock it into place. And folks, that is it. I mean, look at the massive size of this. I think my bolt, one bolt just fell out of the side, didn't it? Let me get that back into place. I probably didn't lock it right. Make sure it snaps forward. And folks, that is it. Just check out the mammothness, if that's a word, of this airplane. This thing is absolutely huge. I'm not moving my camera any farther back. I've moved it back far enough. It's just pretty darn sweet, the size of this airplane. It's just absolutely huge. And that brings me to the one last detail. The assembly of this is really complete, but there is, however, one more antenna. Again, these babies are metal. They're really nice. And that one goes on the top here, and you just glue that in place. So this one and this one, I believe, are identical antennas. They're probably comm antennas or something, or navigation antennas of some sort. But really sweet, great suspension. Look at the suspension operate on this thing. It's very cool. Let me get this glue out of the place. I'll see if I can turn this sideways. Very limited to what I can show you guys here in the shop, here, because this thing is just so big. But great suspension all the way around. Just huge size on this thing, folks. I think I can almost barely get this thing in the frame if I slide my table back, but just a beautiful guys, beautiful assembly. Everything went together really nice, so I'm just real impressed with it. So let's go ahead and see if we can bind this thing. Let's power it up, get all the lights on, and we'll take a look at it with all the lights on and everything working. Now, I went through the binding procedure and bound the airplane up. I went ahead and put the slats on the airplane. They're not glued on. I just kind of put them in position because I'll do that later on. I just wanted you guys to have what the model looks like completed. But I went ahead and did the binding process. The plane is all bound up and everything I set to the book throws. Everything's working okay. Ailerons, elevator, rudder. And then, of course, this thing has some really neat features to it. It has a reverse prop feature, so you can power up your propeller, okay, but then you can assign a switch as well that you can hit reverse on, and then you can actually reverse the thrust to the prop. That's actually a feature that the full-scale airplane actually has, but only it actually reverses its prop pitch, and it allows the plane to touch down, reverse the prop pitch, and throw a bunch of thrust forward, stop the airplane really quick. So this has that already built into it. here on the bind and fly version. Also, there's another really neat feature as well, where you can turn the knob and you can turn certain lights on and off. And you can see here, there's actually 7 settings that you could assign, basically channel 5, because this airplane does not have retractable landing gear. So what you do is you assign your landing gear, and I'm using my DX10 for this. You assign your landing gear to the knob, and then as you turn the knob, you'll start getting lights on. Like the tail light comes on, you turn it a little more, you start getting flashing lights, you turn it a little more, you get your wingtip lights, and you turn a little more, and you get this flashing light up here in the nose, and so forth. So the more you turn this thing, the more lights come on the airplane, and it's very neat. There's actually 7 positions of this thing, and it's pretty cool. There's a very nice lighting package on this whole thing. There's even a cockpit light inside as well that I'll show you. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the lights off, and we're going to take a look at how this thing looks like in the dark with all the lights on. Okay guys, here is a look at DRACO in the dark, so you guys can get an idea of what the light package looks like on it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spin this around so you can see up front. You can see Mike Patey in there, and you can see that he's all lit up in there. And that's because he's got an instrument panel that he's looking at, and you can see his face is all lit up there and everything. And those lights are on all the time. So I'm going to flip this around and give you guys a view of the airplane, the back, so you can see what Mike's instrument panel looks like. So we'll zoom in on that. Those are on all the time, and it lights him up really well. You can see it's pretty cool. He's got a full instrument package in there that you guys can see pretty clearly, and it's just pretty neat. You know, lights him up, lights up the entire cockpit. But those are on stationary, and those are so you can you know, just for a little additional kind of lighting. But the really cool stuff happens when you turn that rotary knob, and we're going to take a look at all these lights. I didn't realize this plane had, you know, this impressive of a lighting package, but if you guys are ready, let's take a look. When you start turning the knob, it has 7 steps to it. So as you turn it a little bit, you get your tail light on, and then your wingtips, you get a steady green and red with a flasher on each side. So both sides flash. You turn the light the knob just a little bit more, you start getting some more lights. You get your wing lights or your upper lights. You get a tail light here in the back. You turn a little bit more. You get your landing lights in the front. I think you get some of your lower lights shining down below here. You turn it a little more, and you get your flashing lights in the nose. So this thing is totally lit up. It's all controlled by the knob. So all you have to do is you know, just assign your landing gear to the knob, to the rotary knob, and it will light up all of these things. So this is going to be a really great, you know, dusk flyer as well. You know, tons and tons, or even maybe even in the dark, but at least dusk. There's your wingtip on the right side. You can see how it's got the landing light, it's got the nav light, it's got the flashing strobe. I'll flip it around here so you guys can see the tail and how nice the tail's lit up. You got the one steady tail light there and the upper flasher. And then on the underside, when you go to the underside of the wings, take a look. You have those lights on the very tip. And then when I lift this up without hitting my ceiling, you've got all those lights on the underside. The one towards the tip pointing down and forward, and then that flasher about the midsection. So lots of lights on this airplane. I really didn't realize that this thing was going to have that impressive of a lighting package that, you know, you can actually, you know, control from your transmitter. So they did a really spectacular job getting this airplane completely lit up. So again, I'll turn that knob off. It shuts everything off except the interior lights. And then as you begin to turn them a little more, get your wingtip flashers on. Again, get your upper rudder flasher on. Next one, get your wings on. The next one, get your front section flashing, and you go a little more and you actually have an additional light in the back here that shines towards the tail. That's a really actually pretty neat one overall. So, but this thing is awesome, folks. I mean, just check out how well this thing is lit up at nighttime. So I'm dying to get this out in the dark. And man, I'm really blown away by what Horizon has done with this model for flying it in the dark. Okay guys, that pretty much concludes this video on the brand new 2-meter DRACO coming from E-flite and Horizon Hobby. As you can see, it's so easy to assemble. It's huge when it's done. It has incredible detail, and the features on it are just awesome. There's a lot of bang for the buck with this airplane. Only a little bit of gluing of a couple of antennas, gluing of your leading edge devices here, your slats, and then setup was super simple. Once you bind it, everything's already set up, ready to go. Again, you got the lighting feature that we just talked about, which you can set up on a knob, and you can see here I shut them all off, and as you turn the knob, all the lights start coming on in different formats, and there's 7 different stages to the lighting. All you have to do is assign your retract channel, channel 5, since this doesn't have retracts. You assign that to the rotary knob, and that lets you change the lighting on this thing. And then your prop reverser is on channel 7, I think. So all you have to do is assign that to a switch, and you can reverse the direction of your prop for reverse thrust to help you slow down. Even though this airplane's really slow, doesn't really need it, but the reverse feature is really nice. I set everything up with the book values, you know, your ailerons, your elevators. Everything is set up to actually triple rates. So as you can see here with the ailerons, an elevator, high rates are way up high, okay? And then at 100%, and then when you go down to mid rates are 70, low rates on everything are 50%. So there's a lot of travel if you want to go crazy. There's a little bit of travel set up to everything, everything if you just want to kind of go light with it. But very, very easy setup, beautiful lighting package, assembled with, again, just a few screws and a tiny bit of glue. Great landing gear suspension. You can see how well that works. Check out the tail suspension as well. It has lots of spring to the tail. So this thing's meant to take hits. So anyway, folks, I am impressed with this thing. It's pretty awesome. We will get this out to the field and be demonstrating it for you guys here really soon. Once those videos are out, we'll put them in the upper right hand corner of the screen, so they'll probably be out by the time this video's out, so hopefully I'll have it for you right here to click on. So if you want to see the flight demo, and also checking your connections, guys, the video that I made called Save Your Plane, how to make sure your wing connectors are really secure in case you're having any intermittent problems with anything. I'll put the link to that here also as well. So if you guys do want to pick up one of these, please use my link in the description below. Using our link, clicking on that, going to the website, Horizon's website, putting the product in your cart, or buying really anything, and then purchasing it through our link supports our channel at no extra cost to you guys, and we really do appreciate it. Otherwise, to support us, if you guys like this video and you want to see more, because there's more coming, guys, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. The notification bell will let you guys know when we put a new video out, and please hit that like button, guys. Hitting that thumbs up is what tells the YouTube algorithm to share our video with more people, and that really helps us grow. So we really appreciate the support, folks. Anyway, my mind is blown. We'll have this at a lot of air shows. It's really, really cool. 6L monster plane, you know, again, coming from E-flite and Horizon Hobby, Mike Patey design. This is just awesome, folks. We've gotten to such a high level in the hobby that I can't get over the detail on all this stuff. Flaps are set the way they are in the manual. Everything's set up beautifully. So anyway, guys, appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned. We're gonna have more videos on the channel. And as always, guys, appreciate you watching, and we'll see you guys next time.